Glad to know you're still with us. This is the Election Studios. ICTs are providing new avenues for job creation that could help tackle global unemployment. For instance, the development of the mobile phone applications industry has created new opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs in Nigeria.
And joining us to discuss the growing opportunities and how young people can key into these opportunities is Rukome Agwae, a cybersecurity analyst. Good evening.
Good evening.
And we also have Tolulope Davids, CEO in Stick.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Very glad to have you here with us. Let's just kick this off with this session by the National Information Technology Development Agency. They're saying that in the ICT sector has boosted federal government job creation effort in the past 2 years with creating about over 12 million jobs. How true, in your estimation, is this? Let's start from there.
Well, I believe it's true because information technology is a living being. By itself, it creates jobs. So the bare necessity of our day-to-day life depends on several ICT gadgets, and those ICT gadgets need to be monitored, need to be supported by ICT professionals. So the problem I feel is not about creating jobs. The problem I feel is creating specialists to manage those jobs. So what we have here in Nigeria is the lack of specialists or the lack of skill sets to manage those ICT jobs there. So in Nigeria right now, in Africa, there is no lack of jobs, and jobs will keep on generating in terms of ICT, but what we are facing now here is a drought of skill sets that will be required to man those particular ICT jobs.
Now, David, quickly, with global spending on digital transformation technologies expected to cross about 2.1 billion by 2019, that's this year, and over 2020, how much of a commitment do you expect from the incoming government, because we are counting down to the elections holding on Saturday? At the end of the day, Rukome mentioned areas of specialization, but we can't have areas of specialization if we don't have the funding to train these individuals to become pros at their different areas of specialty.
Okay. I think for me, I want to look at it from the perspective of how much is really required from government. How much, what do I mean by how much? How much input do we really require, do we really need from the government? Government's roles and responsibility is not really to spend on IT infrastructure. And I will explain that. It's very simple. They just need to create enabling environments, as it were. And what are these enabling environments? There are private entities that are really interested, in investing in ICT. Government needs to create enabling environment by giving them few things, which I will quickly talk about. Tax cuts is one idea that government can really introduce. So if you really want to put, a large chunk of investment into infrastructure, government can say, oh, you have a tax holiday for say 5 years, to compensate for what you are bringing on board. So about commitments from this new administration that will kickstart and fuel this, I want them to start looking at areas of creating enabling environments. Things around tax cuts, things around, single digits interest rates when they are lending either from the purse of government or from infrastructure bank in Nigeria, for instance. Those are the areas I'm looking at. It from.
And then, Rukome, you also are a cybersecurity analyst as well, and this is a growing space, especially looking at how much we're supposed to be tapping into. We understand that cyber fraud is still a major issue, but you also talked about areas of specialization. How much are we also supposed to be countering when it comes to building our expertise level here?
Okay. My colleague here spoke about government I think he hit the nail on in the head. The government shouldn't be involved in infrastructural development, in ICT development. It's all about it's all about creating an enabling environment. So in terms of cybersecurity,
somehow it's still a public-private partnership that we're pushing.
Yeah, it is. So like, well, driving that in terms of cybersecurity, there's little the government can do in terms of cybersecurity. We don't expect the president to secure our ICT networks. We don't expect the government to create policies to secure our ICT infrastructure.
Quarterly contribution of the ICT sector to Nigeria's GDP increased to 1.6 trillion naira, away from 1.4 trillion naira. That means that the sector contributed about 10%. That's still a large chunk of the GDP.
Okay, David, let me bring this to you. If you say it's 10%, I agree. Measure of economy, we have to be realistic when it comes to measuring economy. I will pick one sector as an example, which I'm currently playing in, which is the logistic part, providing solution for logistics. The logistic industry is estimated to worth $80 billion, which is a very big, value when you look at it. The likes of 360 Cobos, they are raising huge investments into Africa to solve the problem. But when we come down to look at this 80 billion, how much of it, are we realizing currently? If we look at the question my sister asked, today we are playing around between 100 billion and 200 billion, which is very small compared to what the industry was, as it were. Now, how do we know where we are if we look at that basis alone? If we know where we are, then we need to start building. How can we get to the 80 billion? 80 billion compared to 8.8 trillion Nigerian budget is, you understand what I'm trying to say? Exactly. So we need to start looking at the future, and looking at that future is not lacking in Nigerian energy.
So in talking about emerging markets, talk about agriculture, talk about marketing, talk about the banking sector, and a whole lot more. What should we be doing right to ensure that we key into the emerging markets and remain relevant when we talk about technology?
So I'd like to talk about educational reform from the elementary level. So what we need to start doing is that from the elementary level, we need to start teaching our kids how to harness ICT knowledge to transform how they see their society. So IT is broad, and you can use IT you can apply it to any particular sector of your life. So you can apply it to the agricultural sector, you can apply it to the media, you can apply it to the security sector, you can apply it to whatever sector. It's just about IT is just simply trying to use technology to make your life better. So the problem we are facing in our society is that like we mentioned earlier, skill sets, we don't know how to transform that knowledge to apply to create technology that would in turn give us financial results. So let's take, for example, I'm a kid. I need to create something to make me go to school better, or make me do my assignments better and everything. My knowledge in Excel and my knowledge in some programming tools can be able to help my calculus or calculation, increase my calculation better, and also help me do the assignments for other people. So this is an example of using technology, using your knowledge to solve your particular problem. So it's just about using technology to solve your problem.